Hello, everyone. We're Matt and Lisa Jacobson.
And this is Faithful Life Podcast, Marriage Weekend Edition, where every Friday we take just a few minutes to talk about one simple way for you to enjoy a better weekend together. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Faithful Life Marriage Weekend Edition. We hope that you are getting ready for an awesome weekend together.
A few years ago, I had this aha moment where it just changed everything. It was a split moment, and I could see something so clearly that I had missed for a really long time that was a game changer in our marriage and in our home. And I don't know if you'll be able to relate to this or not, but I will tell you my story and see what you think. So I was busy cooking dinner, and I was making some soup. I remember standing at the stove, and the whole time I was stirring my soup, I was just thinking about all the things that had gone wrong that day and my concerns about the children and things that had happened, things that had broken, and just my whole mind was, I guess, spiraling downward now that I think about it. But I could see Matt walk in the door because we have glass windows all around our kitchen and a glass door, and he walked in, and I could see he was glad to be home. His face was tired but warm. And he came in and he said, "Hey, babe, how was your day?" And so he asked. So I answered. And I started telling him about the bickering kids. I told him about the appliances that had broken, the medical bills that had come in that day. And my list just kind of kept going. And I was being matter-of-fact about it. I don't remember particularly being, nah. It was just not in my spirit, at least. But what I was sharing was really negative. And as I was watching him, I could see his face kind of slowly drop and his shoulders drop, and all his whole demeanor was so down. And I had that effect on him just by what I was saying.
But it was great to be home.
Oh, no.
And, just for the record, our ice maker just quit a couple days ago.
Yeah, that would make anybody down. No, just kidding. In the middle of summer.
Right.
Exactly. So I think in my mind, how I looked at it was I was being honest. I was always encouraged, be honest with your feelings, be honest with what goes on in your day. And this was my idea of honesty. But really, that aha moment that I was mentioning was I wasn't so much being honest as I was being a complaining wife.
We often don't think clearly about the power of those first few moments when we come together at the end of the day. It doesn't matter whether you're coming home from work, doesn't matter whether you were out and about on errands and coming back together, doesn't matter whether, in our case, we work in the same house, we have separate offices, and we're coming together at the end of the day. We forget that we are bringing a spiritual essence, a spiritual attitude. We're bringing our personal power to bear in that moment, that emotional power that each individual has. And it's just a critical time when you're coming together at the end of the day.
And it's not like there is a place for being honest. It's just going to be at a different time and a different setting. And the impact that you can have on your relationship just by that, I'm going to put aside all those negative things for right now. And I'm going to communicate, I'm glad you're home. I'm glad we're together. I'm looking forward to sitting down and having a meal with you. Not only does that pour over into our marriage, but it even trickles down into our kids and into our family and just the whole time around the dinner table, just by those few things that we're communicating.
And it's such a powerful spiritual principle. It's captured in, Proverbs 16:24, and it says, "Pleasant words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones." And the power of pleasant words. That's the moment for them right then, just coming together and starting off on a positive note. It's something that if you don't think about it, you can kind of miss the moment, right?
Yeah.
But it's something you can change. You can say, you know what? I'm walking into the house. I just think of the guys right now, or lots of women, just equally as much work these days in our society. But walking into the home, and what are you bringing with you? What attitude, what demeanor, what spirit are you bringing with you into the home in that moment? And a lot of this can be just based on personality. Some people are so buoyant that, you couldn't sink them no matter what, at least in terms of how they express themselves. Or there are people like me who I can be buoyant and fun sometimes.
Yes.
But a lot of times, I can kind of walk around with my furrowed brow thinking about everything that happened, everything that needs to be dealt with, things that need doing or addressing or whatever. and kind of get caught up in the thinking, not even necessarily being negative or complaining, but just caught up with the heaviness of the stuff that I have to deal with.
Yeah, I would say that I don't think of you as a complainer.
No.
I think it's more that you noticing what's missing rather than what's been done, or noticing what's wrong instead of what's right. And I think that has that effect on me when that happens.
Well, have I told on myself the sock story under the couch? Has that
I'm not
come up
sure,
yet?
but
Maybe we
socks.
did.
Okay.
Maybe we did in another podcast. And I don't mind telling on myself because it's really sick. And I think I should probably just tell everybody how I can be. So I come home from work. I walk in the front door. Everything's perfect, frankly. And I can even smell Lisa's amazing wheat bread. I hope y'all go to Club 31 Women and find the wheat bread recipe because you're going to think you died and went to heaven. It's so good. She really does have the most amazing wheat bread. But anyway, so I'm walking to the door. That's happening. Everything else is perfect. The house is perfect. Everything's perfect. I walk in and I go, hey, I'm not kidding. I wish this wasn't true, but I walk in and I say, hey, who left the socks under the couch?
With all the dust bunnies.
And I'm going, well, I didn't see those, but I might have commented on them if I had seen them. But anyway, that's just the kind of thing where you go, really? The first thing you have to say is something that's wrong, out of place, negative, that is going to be heard not as, hey, it's just a fact, something that needs addressing, and like, really, do socks need addressing? That's how absurd this is. But maybe even, that's a minor example, but there are others.
Well, that's the kind of thing that can set off my whole evening.
Well,
because
it comes
it's
across as
so
discouraging
critical to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's very defeating.
Right. And we forget that when we show up, and I don't just mean we, the guys, but we, everybody.
Right.
When the women show up, when the guys show up, we forget that when we show up, we're bringing a spiritual essence. We're bringing a positive and or negative energy with us, and we're offering that. We're either lifting the people that we're with in that moment, or we're offering them the burdens of our day to carry and weighing them down.
Yeah, just going back to that, when you first came home that one evening, and instead of listing out all the things that were wrong, what I could have done, and this also would have been honest if I had had that perspective, is I could have said that, we had a great time at the park today, and I was thankful that the washing machine was working, or that there was, I could dry the clothes because it was a hot summer day. I could have presented so many things in a positive way, and then later at another time talked about some of my concerns or some of the things that need to be addressed. But right then and there, I could have been just as truthful, but with a positive
right. And it's not about pretending that bad things are good.
No,
that's a huge mistake and absolutely wrong to do. But it's about focusing on the good things relative to what you're bringing to the moment of reuniting or coming together at the end of the day or going into the weekend. It's kind of what we're talking about here, Marriage Weekend Edition.
Yeah.
You're going into the weekend, and are you going to bring into that weekend that positive spirit? There's an old hymn. A lot of churches these days don't kind of left off with the old hymns, don't really sing many of the old hymns, but there's an old hymn that's really good about this, and it's called Count Your Blessings. Mm-hmm. And it says, count your blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done, right? You'll be surprised at all of the goodness. It can change you and change your perspective by saying, I am going to focus on the good things, and I'm going to take responsibility for the power, the energy that I'm bringing into the home as I reunite with my wife or my husband at the end of the day.
Yeah, and a lot of these things, they're old habits. Like my little list of complaining, my being honest was an old habit that I actually could change. And by changing that, I was changing, or at least impacting our marriage, our relationship, and like I said, overflowing into our home.
Yeah. So, hey, we want you guys to have an awesome weekend this weekend together. We want your marriage to enjoy all the positive benefits of walking in obedience to the Lord. He wants us to speak pleasant words to each other. And we need to remember, just like Proverbs says, those words are like honey, right? And they lift up the person that God has given us to walk with in this life. And so remember that going into the weekend. You are bringing something really powerful into the home, and that is that positive spirit, and you've got the power to lift up instead of to weigh down.
So this weekend, choose to breathe life into your marriage and home.
Awesome. Have a great weekend together, everybody.
All right. We appreciate you.
All right. God bless. Bye.